we're up to Sif Dalit, and I would like to stop off and say a little bit of political Lashon Hara. That's another thing to start with after Yom Kippur. So Moshe Feinstein has a tshuva about going fishing on Chol Hamoed. Pesach you could do with matzah meal. I've seen it with matzah meal. Yeah. We're high class. We only use deep sea diving fish. You know, we're not like you cheap people.
Sport fishing, or you want to make it fish?
Sport fishing. So the question is that permissible? Now, I would like to vent for a minute. The Yetzer Hara is always creative, and he looks to find ways to dress up Averis as mitzvahs. From what he thinks he does professionally.
Thinking of fishing as opposed to like playing a baseball game? Or
Yeah. So one of the things that they have on Chol Hamoed in this country, often, oh, look at that, is they have like, you go to these kibbutzim or something like that, and they have the lamates halachas that you can, hands-on be mechal yontif. Right? In other words, you're only allowed to do malacha on yontif if it's the tzarech chag. No, malacha that I'm doing right now, there's other restrictions. But let's say, it's you can't even sew yourself a piece of clothing, right?
So family outing is not sorry.
So that's what we're going to get to in a minute. But first, let's say, let's speak about a situation which I think it's 100% permissible. I want to take my family to go and milk the cows, and we're going to have the kids. This is what they did when I was a kid. Right? Nowadays, they're probably made out of plastic. But when I was a kid, they used to squeeze the udders. What? So that's, in my opinion, 100% permissible to be done. You know why? Because if you don't do it, it's our balechayim. It has to be milked. Whether you're there or not, all you're doing is that you're doing somebody's job. You're paying to do somebody's job. How does it make you feel? Okay, somebody gets paid to do this, and now you're paying to do it. Okay, it's called a fire. I think that's what they call that in Hebrew. But actually, that's really what's going on. Now, in the same place, they may have sheep there, and they let you shear the sheep, and then comb it, and they have these cards, the combing cards. Twist the wool and do all those things. What are you doing with that stuff when you're finished? Your wife isn't letting you bring it home, right? That's for sure, right? That's where it starts, right? So these things are from the lamates malachas, so that means that there should be something one shouldn't be doing on Chol Hamoed. So over here we say all for the sake of Torah and chibuv haaretz. So therefore we have people be machal yontif. That's one way to view it.
In the same point, you go to the museum and you press the buttons that make the lights go on.
So we'll answer. I appreciate the question. I'm not intimidated. We'll try to answer the question. No, there's a very good question. There's a very good answer for that question.
There's also a problem at my work with cacao. They'll get people to come and pick olives or things like that, which can't be eaten straight away. Which is the problem.
Yeah, we learned about that. We learned about that 2 weeks ago or last week about pickling them. If you can't eat them, that should be usher.
Right.
So now, at first, I would like to address parrots. Rav Shulei Diskin did not use regular toilet paper on Chol Hamoed because regular toilet paper you have to cut it, and it's a shaila of machatech, Korea. I get involved in the different kinds of there. 120 years ago, they used to they had newspapers that they would cut up into pieces. That's what they would use, if you really want to know. But he would prepare all of his toilet paper before Yontif, not to have to do this on Yontif. We are not machmer on this chumrah. Why? Because in Hilchos Yantif, when we're going to learn about this in Mitzvah Shem in depth, when we learn about Boina and Yantif, and see the halacha of a guma and thing on the ground, that you're allowed to be mesader it, there's a concept of moleches shihui. Things that are, people do, klach hayad. Klach hayad, I don't mean in the technical term klach hayad. They do that. Let's explain. For me to take a picture, there's no problem. All I do is press the button. For Lev to take a picture, that's a malacha. Okay, so for me to take a picture, that's as far as there's no meleches umnus in it at all. All it is press a button, and then there's nothing going on. Turning on a light. No one, as far as I know, says that you have to appraise the situation and see, do I really need the light or not? And Chol Hamoed, you're allowed to turn on the light. You know why? Because there's no, perhaps the word I should use is tircha involved, or there's no specialization. There's nothing. I'm just turning on the light. Just use that as I'm just turning on the light, and therefore it's permissible. Just as a side issue on this issue, which is not such a side issue, one of the fascinating things which I've seen Chuvas written about, and all I could do is laugh at the question and laugh at the answer. There's a question as to why are you allowed to drive on Chol Hamoed. It should be called Meleches HaUman. First of all, anybody in this country, it's for sure not true, because nobody drives here as a Uman at all. What? What?
The ones have to be careful with.
Yeah, okay, but and the proof that they ask this question with is that they say, what do you mean? You have to take a course, you have to go to school. It's not, you can't just get into a car and drive. So that's like writing is like that too. And sewing is like that too. Everything that once you've learned it's no big deal. I could also be a violinist. I just haven't learned how to do it. Right? Doesn't go like that, right? So what is the answer to the question? In my opinion, the simple answer to the question is that you don't need to go to school to learn how to draw. You have to learn that. You have to go to school to worry about other people. To get in the car and have the car go. That's not a. It's other things that are, and that's, I'm not going to get involved in the technical aspect of it, but all the poskim at the end of the day say that you're allowed to drive, and that's not called the Meleches Uman, though it needs perhaps an explanation, but it's not called the Meleches Uman. Now, the opposite of Meleches Uman is something which you just do, anything you do on anything you do on autopilot, that's considered Malacha She'ein Bo Shihui. I mean, there's no tarrying involved. We don't see it as. So when I come into the room and I turn on the light, I didn't do anything. But I said, I'm not ready to discuss whether there was a malacha done. It's not. There's no tircha or calories of brain power work ratio that makes it problematic. Therefore, it's permissible to do. And therefore, if Lev Salzer would like to drive to shul from his house, he's allowed to. Okay? Only if you have a green car. Yeah?
I want to find an IKEA table. There's 16 steps to putting it together.
No. Are you going to use it or not?
Let's say I'm going to use an Yom
Perhaps then becomes. I would like to say. I want to just tell you something. The average person, without instructions, would not be able to do it. So all you're doing is a cheater. In other words, they're having you do something professional by them. What?
By following the instructions.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it not a professional thing being done. My example of this, I gave a shir in this shul here many years ago. I think I said this over. I'm going to say it again. That just to all of you people to realize how old you are. Somebody asked me this question. They had something wrong with their computer, and you called the company, and nowadays they log into your computer. They fix your computer. In the olden days, they didn't do that. You would call them, and they say, "Press this button, and see what happens." It's on the screen, and they would walk you through the operation. So the question is, are you allowed to do that on Chol Hamoed? Why? Because what you're doing a Ma'aseh Hedyot. Press key E, press key X, press key Y. You're not doing anything that takes any skill, right? And the Indian in Indonesia, right? He's not doing anything. He's providing information. So one guy is the brains, and one guy is the brawn, right? And there's no. So where's the umnus?
So it's the same thing if I go there and do the sheep. There's some guy telling me, okay, take this and just do this. I'm not doing any chachma there.
Okay, so no. Oh, exactly. There's two different things. One is called malacha, and one is called umnus. Anything which is called a malacha in Shabbos, which means that you have moved something along to become at a higher, ready for usefulness level, that's called an accomplishment. That's called an accomplishment. Not because it's the dafka done with the uman, but in other words, if I take my wheat and I winnow it, it's still useless. I mean, you can't do anything with winnowed wheat except grind it. Right? No, it's not a useful item yet. It's just, but the step is prominent enough that we call it that you have upgraded your wheat from point A to point B, and that's called a malacha. There, the achievement is in the fact that you have upgraded it. So all the lamates malachas, they're malachas inherently, not because of tircha, but because they have made this change. So it's zikr asur to be done. Nobody has a havamina that's mutter to be done. But Moshe Feinstein, who says that it's mutter to be done, he's machadish a svara. Notice he doesn't argue with the baseline. He says, if this is the hanoah that you have on Chol Hamoed, so that will create a Chol Hamoed. But in other words, he's not arguing on the
application.
Right. Now this is a fascinating. Everything I do, I want to do it. Right? Is there anything I do that I don't want to do?
It's something you do. You have to do it.
What?
You have to prepare food.
So this question, the Shlomo Zalman and Rabbi Yashiv were very annoyed at Rav Moshe for this psak. And no, it's into this psak. I just have to understand, the psak is a chidush. It's a chidush in understanding what is called something happening. I would like to share with you first something I heard from Rav Moshe Shapiro, and then a Tosfos, then a halacha, and then we'll see how the Rabbonim today apply it. And I think that we'll all be wiser. I heard once from Moshe Shapiro, he said there is no such word in Lashon HaKodesh as fun. Anybody want to challenge that? And I'll tell you even more. There's no word in Hebrew for fun either. There's an Arabic word that's used. It's Arabic.
And it means fun.
It means fun, yeah, but you don't live in Palestine? What's the matter with you?
No, I'm just wondering.
That's what it means. No. That's what it means. That's what it means. So they borrowed it just like in English, the word chutzpah. But but it's just borrowed from a different language, and it doesn't exist. And Rav Moshe Shapiro said once, I heard this from him. He said the reason why there's no word is fun, because there's no such thing as fun in Lashon Kodesh. That concept is illegitimate. It doesn't exist. It's a corrupt concept.
If they say, they're native with that.
Yeah, enjoy, I didn't say the same thing as enjoy.
But that's for fun.
No, absolutely not.
That's the definition.
What?
We need a definition then.
You could say that I enjoy fun games. Is that a sentence? So that was not my machren and Wasser water. That's not what I just said. I enjoy means I derive pleasure from things that are fun. There's a certain kind of an exhilaration. I'm not going to really go to be the dictionary over here, but it's some kind of, we'll call it just like an adrenaline flow kind of a thing. Oh, here he goes. I am not intimidated. There's no such word for it because it has no value. Period.
In itself.
In itself.
Just understand.
Right? Now, this has a very important halachic ramification in Hilchos Shabbos. In Shulchan Aruch, it says that a ball is muksa on Shabbos, and the Shitas Beis Yosef is, the reason why it's muksa on Shabbos is because it has no use. Now, obviously, if they sell them, they weren't selling them as pet rocks, right? They were selling them because people use them. What do you use them all for? To have fun. So it's clear, and this Cham Ben Sina Abashol writes this. He says the reason why it's usher to play with a ball on Shabbos because it's muksa, because that's not called a justifiable use. This is like a fascinating idea, right? No, you have to have a certain level of. What does it say? What does it say? Wow, just imagine. I must have done it all on my own.
No, but
anyways.
There have been places where it talked about with the ball and people went swimming and they made shapes when they're swimming. You bring them in different places. What is it saying it for? What are those things? How would you categorize it?
I don't know.
So taking the whatever they called the ball then and taking it in the water with them when they're swimming.
I don't remember which one you're talking about. But this is just
There's a few places where it talks about making the shape.
Take a look at the Beis Yosef. Take a look at the Beis Yosef. Take a look at Cham Ben Sina Abashol. And this is what they say. They say that the reason why ball is muksa is because playing fun is not a usage. Now, just so you shouldn't think that this I'm picking on balls, the Aruch HaShulchan really asks the same question in Hilchos Muksa. It says a kli shemalachta leheter. You're only allowed to use it michamal etzel. But if your usage is less than chamal etzel, so then you're not allowed to use it. So he says, what am I ever using something for that I'm not using it for something? So the classic example is that somebody's giving a drasha and you're playing with the salt shaker. What are you doing? Nothing. That's what I just said. You're doing nothing. And that's called non-purposeful work, and therefore it's muksa for that concept. No, this has, and you look, if you learn in the Torah, you'll find many places that actions have to be justified, and there's a cutoff point. What? A threshold. Yeah, thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. That if you don't meet the threshold, that's illegitimate. So I like, it's my Chol Hamoed because I enjoy doing it. Enjoyment by itself is not an ends. It's an expression of emotional glee. Or most of the poskim disagree with Rav Moshe and says that can't make it into a tzoyrich. It's not a tzoyrich. Not that you don't want to do it. It's not a tzoyrich. Understand?
You do something because it's oneg.
Exactly, that's nothing. That exactly.
There is an Indian to do that. Shabbos and Yosef.
No, it also tells us how to. Oineg, it says exactly how to do oineg. Exactly how to do oineg. It's not up for your personal.
Well, for example, on Pesach, they say you get buy the kids kloyos or different nuts so they can play with them.
That it doesn't say. That was somebody, some teacher of yours or some sheer giver that's trying to wake up the people there. As far as I know, they were given to them kloyos and agoyos were given to be eaten, right? But you could also play with them because they're muksa. They're not muksa because they're food. In other words, I didn't say you can't have something that you can play with. I didn't say I'm just saying that there's a threshold that has to be met. So for what's called a purpose, I'm going to ask a question which is going to date me because most of the people here can't even think of the world without this. What is the purpose of having pictures? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you.
Depends which picture.
What?
Scenery or weather.
That's not talking about scenery, right? It's is that how important is that? my mother used to call it the papirne kinder, my paper children, the ones that come in paper only, the grandchildren. Anyways, how important is that to have, right? I can't have the event without pictures. Right? No, I didn't say.
But all these things, the balls and the pictures have to have the last, compared to 50 years ago, the usage of
I want to share with you a sentiment of a friend of mine. I could say it now because we're very far away from the sphere in the 3 weeks. He said, I have a bone to pick with the Rabbanim of the last 100 years. In Chazal, in the Rishonim and Anachrayim, whenever they spoke about music came with a musician. And in order to have music, you had to have an event. What? I said 100 years ago.
Yeah,
what?
Only live music.
Yep.
Right? And that was it, right? So, as he said, how do you know that when they speak about canned music, it doesn't even create the same euphoria? In other words, this is like a fascinating idea, right? It's just we're very far away. If anybody tells me I said such a thing when it comes to sphere, so I will deny it. So just make it clear right now. I'm just pointing this out from a intellectual point, right? In other words, people they walk around with earbuds the whole time, right? That's part of their breathing. They're not listening to music, they're breathing. That's music to my ears, right? That's called enjoyment, right?
So listening to music.
What?
Today, some people need music to whatever.
Yeah, and I'm not. That's a different tetter. I thought this, but in other words, the idea of listening to music that it creates a certain atmosphere is questionable. This questioning: is that true today? That we're living in the music hub. It's a question. You're not going to find a source that's going to discuss this 100 years ago. It's not going to be.
But also playing with the ball today, some kids today need it more than they used to 100 years ago.
That's therapeutic.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about just fun. And when we'll have a real question, then we'll deal with the question really. I'm talking about the concept. Anyways.
The definition of fun is enjoyment and amusement. So we are circular a little bit here.
First of all, I am not beholden to your dictionary.
Okay.
What does it mean, enjoyment and amusement? It's or. What?
Yeah, or enjoyment or.
What?
Enjoyment or.
So if fun means enjoyment, that exists. If fun means, what was the other word? Amusement, it doesn't exist. So we're right back to where we started, that there's no such thing as amusement. Okay, excuse me. As far as I know, there's no such word as amusement in Lashon HaKodesh. Now we're okay? We're exactly the same place. Right? They just find a different use for it, that's not going to change my point. Anyways, what does that mean to be amused?
What's it? Milsa du dichusa. What is that? It's not something amusing?
What? No.
It's not something amusing?
No. It means it expands your mental horizons. That's what it means.
Dichusa?
It means he said something which is you take a look at. You know what? I'm going to quote to you Amil Dichusa. Rabbi Akiva, I'm right now quoting a medrash. Rabbi Akiva saw that the Talmidim were falling asleep. There was a lady who gave birth to 600,000 people. What a joke!
To wake you up.
What is that? That's a joke. That's not fun. That's right. It's what, right? And it gets you. It's a jolt.
It all depends on the crowd.
Fine. All right. Anyways, this is. I don't have to really support. I'm just saying over from what I heard. It's not my thought. Echshehu. Now we're going to learn tzad adam dagim kol ma sheyachol latzud u'moleach hakol b'moed. A person is allowed to trap. It's not the word. It's not trap. Catch. That's the word. Okay. Catch fish. Kol ma sheyachol latzud v'lo hakol b'moed. Why? You may eat from them, and once again, we're in this concept we discussed already last time, that we have a real tzad that you're going to be using them on moed. You're allowed to do whatever is done. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, why are you allowed to do so much? You only can eat 10 fish and you're catching 20. Gam ken shari. Why? It's fascinating. There's a medrash that says, Tam dag sha'oila ba'aspaimis eino kemo tam dag sha'oila ba'ashkelon. Different fish, the same fish from a different locale, has a different flavor. And even the big fish, the small fish, if you'll speak to your wife, she'll tell you that if you buy chicken, size 1, size 2, and size 3, they have a different taste to them. Right? Eggs doesn't work like that, but chickens do. They have a different taste. So, why? Each fish has an exclusive flavor to it, so you could be looking to pick a winner. Now, even though I understand every single thing that the Mishnah Berurah said, how would I know what I'm looking for and if I got it? In other words, I have no idea how do we... But obviously they were able to see, this one is good for me, this one's not good for me. And I've seen fishermen, when they catch a fish, they take a look at it and they throw it back because this one's no good. Catch another one, looks to me exactly the same, this one's good. So obviously it's like Borsellino hats. I don't know, for some reason or other you have to just be there to know about it. Anyways, I'm going to find a better one. Full covered yontif. So you're allowed to catch even more than you need because you're looking to catch a winner. That's the bottom line. They only allowed to take what you need. It's going to take time until they cure. I have no idea what you do, squeeze out fish to eat them. Okay, but the concept I understand. Now here is a very important Mishnah Berurah. Conception. When I see somebody doing something, sometimes I have to be the barditchever to be done on Makav's, and sometimes it's obvious. In other words, I see somebody driving on Shabbos, so I have to be done on Makav's, he must be going to Chayla for some Pekuach Nefesh. I see a guy driving the ambulance, so there's no question, right? I don't have a question. So there's certain things that these malachos inherently imply that they're being done with Chol Hamoed, and therefore you're allowed to do them before Hestia because people will not misunderstand that which is being done. Says the Rama, Umutal Tzadam before Hestia. Why? Shenikr Lakol Shuhu Chol Hamoed. Now I would like to pick on this halacha and share with you a experience that I had many years ago. I was in San Diego in the Bay, and a fishing crew came in after catching tuna, and you could see what's going on. And basically they come in as these big tunas and they leave in tin cans, right? Whereas they catch and they can tuna for 6 months in one shot. In the olden days, when you caught a fish, its shelf life was rather limited. You know, it's not like today. They didn't have it on ice. They didn't have it in cans. They didn't have it, So if I can catch as much as I want. Why? Because
going to be consumed.
So now, does this apply today? I don't think so. It's not that the halacha doesn't apply. The application, I don't think is necessarily so. Because again, if a person is catching fish, like I used to try, with a pole and the thing, on the pier. If you're lucky, you can eat seaweed on Pesach, whatever. Anyways, but that's a different story. All right. Umut some of Rasya Shadika, Kamosh Mutter the Tavlid, or you did Tavlid because those also are done only that they should be fresh. Umashal Fizet, the Lav Davka, Tzad the Latzmo, La Fila Tzad, Shumroso, Parnasoso was that, Gam came Mutter before Hesya, because obviously he's catching fish for people in Tzarech HaChag. B'yesh Cholkim was that. Now, this is a fascinating question which Rav Shlomo Zalman asks. There are certain questions that only Rav Shlomo Zalman had the chutzpah to ask, and nobody knows a good answer to his questions. There's much Torah written about this. It's Shabbos, or it's Yantif, and I'm sitting in the sukkah, and yellow jackets come in because of the honey, and my whole family turn into flies. They all fly out of there, right? So what would I do if it was a weekday? I take my fly swatter and kill the yellow jacket, and then perhaps retrieve my family from the neighbors, right? That's what I would do, right? All right. So now, on Yontif, the halacha is that a person is allowed to shecht on Yontif. You're allowed to shecht, because in order to eat, you have to shecht. So netilas neshama is mutter on Yontif. So Rav Shlomo Zalman ponders, this was written in Amoria many years ago, probably about 40 years ago, if it's mutter to kill the wasps, the yellow jackets, whatever it is that's disturbing your family, on Yontif, because mitoch shehuter l'tzorech, huter shaloi l'tzorech. So just like I'm allowed to shecht, I'm allowed to kill. What? If you have a tzorech for Yontif? I have a tzorech. No, right? No, it has to be. I have to have a tzorech ksas, right? So I'm the reason why I'm killing these yellow jackets. I have a very legitimate reason, right? And this is what I do every day. I'm not looking for a loophole.
It's not really metoch l'tzorech lo l'tzorech.
L'tzorech ksas, that's tzorech ksas, but it's not l'tzorech of eating it, you know. But it's a tzorech of Yontif, which justifies me doing it. And therefore, Rav Shlomo Zalman, I don't remember if the last words in his piece is tzorchian, but he definitely was a pro that you're allowed to kill them person. Ad halacha l'maisa. I don't think he took the final.
Would you call him a halachas machshavas? Because you're not using the watch.
It's a moch shein sichel legufo. He discusses that also in the piece. Now, why am I discussing that with you? I'm going to make it clear. Nobody's to say that I said that you're allowed to do that. Just in case anybody, sometimes make it clear.
To kill
on Yontif. I didn't say that. What? So more or less the same thing. But now, why am I telling this to you? Not to just entertain you. Let's see the next line in the Mishnah Berurah. What about Chol Hamoed? Are we back to fun? Or is this more purposeful?
So the same tzorech as the Yom Tov.
You know, but this is Torah is legitimate.
So we will leave it to Chol Hamoed.
Okay, so
Why should it be more?
let's see. Now let's see what it says. Zvuvim v'yetushim. Imhei mitzayin es ha'adam muter lahargam b'chol hamoed. If you have insects that are disturbing, then you're allowed to kill them on chol hamoed. De'ein l'chod tzarech ha'adam gadol miseh. How's that for a sympathetic thing? V'af agav the matzi lavrichon. You could eitza, you could shoo them away. Miyad yachzur alav. Boomerang.
They like fun. That's what they like.
They like fun. Okay. There's an expression in Yiddish. It says, "You look ridiculous like you're fighting with a fly." Right? Who wins when you fight with a fly? Who looks more ridiculous, you or the fly? Okay, that's a Yiddish expression which I think is worthwhile to think about. Anyways, that's the. So here we understand that there are tzorachim which are indirect and that's 100% permissible. So you're allowed to catch them, and if you have a tarantula in your sukkah, you're also allowed to catch him and get rid of him. Anything which is like that, you're allowed to do that without any question on Chol Hamoed. But again, if you would ask me, if I was in my lamdisha mode, I would tell you that this Mishnah Berurah is mufurish against Rav Shlomo Zalman. he only dwells on Chol Hamoed. If I'm not mistaken, I think they even discusses this with Vaz and his tshuva. But all right, let's go to the next sif. Kol ha-malachas shem tzarech hamoed kisha-oisen oisam umnehem oisim b'tzina. Anything which is tzarech hamoed that's permissible to be done has to be done b'tzina. Why? So it shouldn't be a breach of the sanctity of Chol Hamoed, the chilul of Chol Hamoed. In other words, what does this mean, halacha l'maisa? I would like to say something. I mean, to everybody except for Lev Seltzer, by his own admission, you should not walk around with a pen in your pocket on Chol Hamoed. Right? You don't walk around with one for a year already. That's what you said, right? You don't.
Watch.
A watch, okay. But there are people. Let's say I have to write for whatever purpose it is. Should I be flaunting it? This is equivalent, I would say, to a person walking around with his cell phone if he's a doctor, where everybody could see it. In other words, it's non-congruous with what's supposed to be going on.
That would be in the outside pocket.
What? Yeah. Tell people would see it. When no one sees it, that's fine. But why would you do that? Right? You only put it in your pocket so people could see it. Anyways, okay. So you're not allowed to do it in a way which makes a breach in the sanctity of the yontif. Ketzad atzayodim shachayis v'oises v'atoichanim v'aboitzim limkor bashuk. People who are in-gathering crops in order to sell them on Chol Hamoed. Harei lo'oisim b'tzina l'tzarech hamoed. Next, says the Ramah, a very important Ramah, because otherwise the milk is going to go to waste. I would just like to share with you a fascinating Chuvas Marshag, which was related to this Ramah. Though most poskim don't necessarily agree to this, there's an Isser of Hachana from Shabbos L'chol. If one would like to have a mashkiach watch the milking of a goy in order to make it Chol Yisrael, so you could sell it to Jews. So l'chayr that should be aser mishum hachana. So the Marshag has a fascinating revolutionary tshuva, I would even call it, and he says that it's permissible to be done because the Isser hachana is only if you're not going to be losing something, and you could do it afterwards. But here, the milk of today, if I don't do it today, so then it's lost. It's spilled milk, right? It's not going to happen. He says, therefore, it's not included in achona. Here, too, he's saying the same kind of a concept. You could be bichoy of the behemoth, even though it's not l'tzarech hamoed, because the davar of it, because the milk is going to go to waste, and it has to be milked anyways.
What's the mashgiach doing there? Would be looking.
You're not allowed to be mashach al tchum. You're not allowed to do anything which is.
But he's there already.
Doesn't make a difference. You're being there. I tell you, you're not being mashach al tchum, which is not a malacha. Anything which you're doing that's still called a cholom. All right, I'm going to stop over here. Okay.
Next year is after Halloween.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Question,
Yeah.
you're going to be visiting some